Welcome back to the Kinda Funny Screencast. I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the glue, Kevin Coelho, the movie bros herself, Joey Noel.
Hello.
And Nick _Scarpino.
That's it. That's what I get.
The producer
Everyone else has way cooler monikers than me. He gets the glue. She gets movie bros.
You get the underscore, man.
That's fair.
Always and forever.
Yeah, Christ.
You know, this is how it goes.
You picked your nickname a long time ago.
.net. I didn't pick
Good
my
old
nickname.
Nick Scarpino.
The other Nick
.net.
Scarpino picked my nickname for me.
This is the Kinda Funny Screencast. Each and every week we gather here together to talk about movies, TV, and streaming services. This week we already did a screencast. We did the Outsider review and spoiler cast. That went up a couple days ago. You can check that out. But today there's just a lot of news to talk about. So it's going to be a very news and big topic focused things. Are theaters safe? We're going to discuss that today. Is every movie delayed? Yeah, they are.
All of them.
Pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
There's a couple left.
It makes a lot of sense. It's a smart move for them.
But we'll see. We'll see how this all goes. You can get the show live on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. You can get it ad-free by going to patreon.com/kindoffunny. Just like our Patreon producers did. Mohammed, Justin Toft, Das, Bear, Jew, Blackjack, and Mr. Downtown Jarrett Brown himself. You gotta love it. You'll love to see it. You can get this show on youtube.com/kindoffunny or roosterteeth.com. Or if you just want to listen to it, that's fine too. We have a podcast version on podcast services. You just got to search for Kinda Funny Screencast for all of that goodness. But today, we're going to just jump right into it, all right? There's Variety is kind of, I think, the best news source right now to keep up with the Hollywood side of things, with all the screencast side of things that we might be wanting to do this. They have a bunch of different articles that are kind of like keeping things up to date as they're happening of like, here's how this is affecting all TV, movies, and stuff. So we're just going to go through it. And if we want to talk about any specific thing, we can stop and go through with that.
Cool.
You happy with that, Joe?
I am happy with that.
Yeah? How are you doing today?
I sent you that article.
Well, there's more.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah, so Variety has multiple articles of like how it affects different...
Look
It's
at
crazy,
them.
man.
Variety
It's crazy.
doing the thing, keeping us informed in this.
So yeah, pretty much in the last week, essentially, things have went from a month ago, small little production things getting delayed here and there, to at this point, every single movie that has a announced release date in 2020 is boom, 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 coronavirus, one by one. In TV, Wheel of Time production has been halted. I'm unfamiliar with Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time? That was
Andrea's
Amazon.
nerd book thing?
Yeah.
Got it.
It's supposed to be really good. I'm very excited to see it. I guess we'll have to wait.
Do we know what the cast is of that to like jog my memory? Anything?
No.
Like a bunch of people were announced a while ago, but we didn't make news because I wanted to wait till we had a trailer to talk about.
But the Prague shoot for that Amazon series has been halted, and a lot of the stuff is a lot of the international shooting things have been hit. Another example is Falcon and Winter Soldier. The production of that has been halted. Although we did finally get a release date for that of August 21st, and WandaVision for December 20th. So we're finally getting. There's some good news coming out. We'll see if it sticks. Other MCU stuff that we got confirmation that Loki's going to be early 2021. So.
It's exciting.
That is exciting.
Yeah, I have to imagine anything that's streaming, though, they're trying to get out as soon as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Right.
But if they're still,
but
if
they
they're
have
in
to record
production.
Yeah,
still,
that's the sad thing. That's
yeah.
crazy.
The MCU stuff is very interesting to think about because these things have to come in order, right?
Yeah.
So
Right,
I feel
right,
like it's going to really have a ripple effect. Law and Order, SVU.
Oh, rip G.
Production has
so
ceased
sad.
temporarily.
Well,
on the long-run
luckily,
series.
there's only 700 seasons of that show to watch.
So we'll be okay. We'll be okay. The Flash, currently in its 6th season, has shut down production. Source close to the production confirmed the news. Grey's Anatomy sent this email to its cast and crew. Out of an abundance of caution, production's postponed on Grey's Anatomy effective immediately. We're going home now for at least 2 weeks, waiting to see how it all evolves, blah, blah, blah. Price is Right and Card Sharks production is halted. America's Got Talent, Family Feud. The Morning Show, which did well enough to have a season 2, halted production for now. Grace and Frankie, Survivor, The Amazing Race, NCIS Los Angeles, and NCIS New Orleans. So if you're a fan of NCIS,
My poor mother. Yeah, she loves them all.
all
watches
3
all the
NCIS shows
NCISs.
have temporarily been halted on
Poor Mark
production.
Harmon.
Chicago Fire, Chicago Med, and Chicago
no,
PD,
I
which
love
are
the
some of Joey's
Chicago
favorite
one.
shows.
Any news on 911 or 911 Lone Star?
I'm not seeing that. I am seeing stuff though on FBI, New Amsterdam, The Good Fight, Bull, Carnival Row.
Oh no!
Yeah, and then a big change is all the late night shows. So the Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon and Late Night with Seth Meyers, both NBC late night shows are suspending production through their previously planned hiatus, which was scheduled for the week of March 23rd. They had previously planned to shoot without an audience, but now they're just not doing it at all. The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. It's also gone on hiatus. Same thing. They were going to do it without a live audience, but they just went on. Another example of this that's interesting is WWE tonight for SmackDown. They're going to do a full episode of the show at the Performance Center at Full Sail University without a live audience, and I'm very, very interested to see what professional wrestling looks like without an audience.
That's really interesting.
It's gonna be weird as fuck.
It's cool to have the Full Sail campus to use.
Yeah. But it's gonna fail. And WrestleMania is one of the few holdouts left right now. Like I think WrestleMania, RTX, and Comic-Con are like kind of the next on the list. But WrestleMania is early April.
I feel like we've seen a lot of people be like, "Hey, no, these movies are for sure coming out," and like Vin Diesel himself, right? Last week was saying that. And that's been delayed now, and I wouldn't be shocked if WrestleMania also.
Well, WrestleMania, where it stands right now, is Tampa. The city has said that it's not on them.
Yeah,
that they're not going to say no. So it's on WWE.
God, Tampa,
which is like
an
interesting interesting move. Let's see, other shows, Dynasty, Lucifer, they're all being affected. So then on the movie side, some of the stuff coming in as early as this morning. Shang-Chi, the Marvel movie, has suspended production because director Destin Daniel Cretton wasn't feeling well and was told by a doctor to self-isolate while he waited for the result of a COVID-19 test. So this is just the main production of the movie. The what do they call it? A production? Because then there's the B.
Yeah, they're like
I'm blanking on the
A
term
unit
right
and
now.
B unit?
Units. Yeah. So the B and C
first
units.
unit and second unit production. Yeah.
They're still doing production, but
Interesting.
it's just the main one is being put on hold right now.
That gives you all time to watch Kim's Convenience,
which
and
is on
get
Netflix.
familiar with it, and it's so good. Third season came out in the last couple months.
Little Mermaid, the live action one, has also the production has been postponed. Nightmare Alley.
But wait, can the virus live underwater?
I don't know if we have.
Come on, we need a little bit of humor in these.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Bring it to it.
Is,
That's what we got you here for, Nick.
Come on,
That's
guys.
Nick's solution for this. Everyone just lives in the pool.
Nightmare Alley, which is Guillermo del Toro's upcoming productions. Haven't heard of it, but it is also.
I don't think we've seen much about it. We've just kind of heard that it's going to happen.
Yeah, and Disney's involved, so.
Oh, interesting.
Weird. Home Alone. There's a Home Alone movie coming out, and that's being delayed because of production issues. Peter Pan and Wendy. Another movie I didn't know existed, but hey, it's going to be a while longer till it exists. And then The Last Duel, the Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and Ridley Scott film scheduled for a December 25th release date. And it's unknown whether that be affected by production halting. Yeah, I haven't heard. Some of these I have no
I've never
knowledge
heard of.
Yeah. Honey, I Shrunk the Kid sequel as well. An untitled Elvis project, which is the new Baz Luhrmann thing.
That's
Which
the
is
Tom
very
Hanks one,
exciting.
right?
Yeah, with Tom
that's the one
Hanks
where
as well.
Hanks
And
realized
that's
just got it.
obviously delayed due to Tom Hanks having the virus himself. Mission Impossible 7.
No.
The 7th edition in the iconic Tom Cruise film franchise was scheduled to shoot for 3 weeks in Venice, Italy. However, given that the entire country is currently on lockdown, Paramount Pictures has delayed its production plans for the highly anticipated movie. That was kind of the first one to really set this all off, and that was before it was understood that this was going to be as big of an issue as it was across Hollywood and everything else. And then some other movies that I haven't heard of there. But that's all just the production side of it, right? Then, of course, we have so many more delays, including pretty much Disney's entire slate, Mulan, New Mutants, Antlers. No mention of Black Widow. So I kind of want to start the conversation there. Disney releases Onward, and it is not doing well at the box office because people are just not
Such
going
a
to
good
movies.
movie.
Yeah, which is a bummer
Yeah.
because we really enjoyed that movie. So Onward debuted the weekend to 40 million, enough to lead the box office charts, but still a somewhat disappointing start given the studio's sterling track record when it came to putting out animated movies and having to just make bank. A little extra thing there, Bloodshot came out last night, the new Vin Diesel movie. That only had a $45 million budget, which surprises me because it looks more expensive.
Very graphic and heavy.
40
yeah.
million of it went just to Vin Diesel's pocket.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But it had a $1.5 million opening, which is good for the projections for that movie. But the projections of where it's going to be in the next couple weeks, they're like, oh, this movie's fucked.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, like
I mean, there's
much.
a reason why all these other movies are getting delayed. People
Exactly.
aren't going to movie theaters right now.
Yeah, so Mulan being kind of the one that people had their eyes on for, like, are they actually going to delay it? It obviously being such a instant home run for the Chinese market and for America as well.
Yeah.
And so it's like them delaying it now.
Makes so much sense.
It's just interesting that they don't have any new dates for these movies, right?
Yeah.
It's just like indefinitely delayed.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you have to imagine if they choose a date that's sooner, they might have to push it again. And that means a bunch of money in marketing that is then going to get wasted for pushing a date that may not be solid. That's, I think, why we're seeing like Fast 9, its date is so far away.
So far.
Yeah,
So
Universal
far
was
away.
smart on that call. When I heard it the first time, I was like, wow, they're punting it almost in like a year. It's more than a year.
Little less than a year.
Little less
11
than a
months.
That sounds insane, but then you think about it, you're like, what if this does last 6 to 8 months, and what are the ramifications? Not only that, but like you also have to look ahead and say, if there are also already movies slated for that window, how is your movie going to stack up against that? Now, I think obviously Fast 9 is going to be a juggernaut no matter where you put it, but if it's up against a Marvel movie, that's going to take a lot of the sting out of it. So
Yeah.
I'm more worried about James Bond, which has already been punted once. Historically is like a little bit weird with the audience right now, where I don't know how many people are really clamoring for another James Bond movie, and they had a lot of good marketing going into it with the Billie Eilish song coming out, and everyone seems to be pretty jacked up for it. Are we going to be as excited for that now when we go into November with it? Who knows? Who knows what the state of the economy or the world's going to be like in November? So I think it's actually smart for Universal to have punted it as far down
Absolutely.
the path as humanly possible.
What's interesting, though, is I just looked it up. That puts it 1 or 2 weeks out from John Wick and The Matrix.
That's well, I doubt the
Assuming
Matrix
that
is going to hit
those-
that.
Yeah, hit those dates.
Yeah,
The
it's
Matrix
Well, The
is-
Matrix was filming like a month ago here in the Bay Area.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to have if that's going to be postponed a little bit as well. So
Yeah, when
Is
you,
it safe to say that, like, pretty much everything in production is going to get...
Yes, I mean, I feel like if we're looking at trends here, like what's happening is the movies that we already know are coming out soon are getting delayed, and it started with James Bond, which was
Right.
like, hey, that's a movie that we were a little away from. Like, no, we're just gonna punt it though, and then it turned into like every movie coming out in the next 2 months being delayed. That now we're starting to see in the last 2 days production being affected, and it's like it is that ripple effect of, okay, cool, all the 2021 movies that we know about are probably going to be late 2021 or 2022 at this
Yeah.
point. And so it's kind of just like everything is getting
because you can't really you can't really stack them all up one
Right,
after
right,
another
right.
after another. So that is going to be the issue. It's not just this current slate; it's the next 2 years of movies that are going to get pushed back and pushed around.
Yeah.
which sucks.
It absolutely sucks, but I think you're right, Nick. Like, I think Universal making the call, as much as it sucks because I want Fast 9 now so bad. And God, it hurt waking up seeing that news. I was like, God damn it.
But you have to give it to them. Like, this is their big franchise. This is
Mm-hmm.
their big series, and they know it's going to be $1 billion. They're sitting there looking at like probably anywhere between $700 to $1 billion worth of revenue that they know is coming. They
yeah.
cannot screw that up.
And I think that they're looking at this like the fact that they put out tickets for pre-release like 6 months ahead of this movie's original release, they are
That's
planning.
right, we have tickets for it.
Yeah, they are planning to
They haven't been
straight up
canceled yet.
dominate the box office. Like, I think that they are trying
It
to
should
get
be, though.
top 3 spot of revenue for movies ever, and it's just like they need that. Universal needs that kind of like
to fund everything else.
that power to
Push,
like
yeah.
to keep going, and it's like I do think this is a wise call. It does suck that means that the future movies are all going to be pushed as well, and it's just going to create a weird vacuum right now, and like that's kind of the scariest part when we're looking at theaters and we're looking at distribution services of like, how does this actually affect things come 2 years from now when we're seeing where all these movies are at, where there was all these plans based around having revenue to support the next thing.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, definitely. Especially for
fun-
Universal, where it's like, where Disney, I think, out of all the studios, is the one that can weather the storm the best. They've got all of these amazing movies that they could definitely push, and their shareholders know, I assume, can realize where the situation's at and can look at 2021 and go, okay, we're going to take a hit in 2020. Everyone's taking a hit in 2020. But 2021, they're going to, if they punt all these movies to that slate, they know they've got that revenue coming back in. I don't know if I can say the same for Universal and Sony or Paramount.
Yeah, I think that Disney's in the best position because they have Disney Plus and Hulu, where like you got to imagine people are going to be home watching movies, right? So like I'm sure there's gonna be a boost to these services, Hulu, Netflix, like.
Well, not only they're going to be home, but their kids are going to be home
Yeah.
too, right? As we're closing
Yeah.
schools down,
That's
what
right,
do you
yeah.
do with your kids?
Put them in front of the TV.
Put them in front
It's
of
like
the TV,
a nanny,
right? It's
but
a
cheaper.
babysitter that doesn't talk back. you know?
Jesus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we're going to jump around a lot in this episode, but I think that that's the interesting thing is like, while that's true, what if this shutters the theater industry? And sure, they're making money on Disney Plus, but where they were making Disney Plus money and theater money, they're now losing out on that entire theater thing. They're going to take that 2020 hit. But what if this leaves us in a world where $1 billion box office isn't possible anymore because there's just
there's
not
no more box office.
exactly right.
That is a possibility. I mean, I don't know the economics of theater chains, and we were talking yesterday. Obviously, AMC is the biggest chain in the world, right? Or at least one of the biggest ones.
It is the biggest right now.
So I
believe.
feel like AMC could probably weather the storm, but the smaller theaters, I don't know if those are going to be able to exist. It's fine if it's a month or two, but when people start punting major franchises an entire year, how long can the theater last with empty seats?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine a lot of these theater chains are sitting there with so much cash and reserves that they're like, okay, we can weather the storm for 2 or 3 years, but I think this is going to be cataclysmic to the theater industry.
Now, there is one thing that I think that helps theaters like AMC or Cinemark, the bigger theaters that have the subscription services. I don't think that people are canceling, like, are smart enough to think, like, oh, I should cancel my AMC because I'm not going to go for the next month. So
Yeah.
they potentially might still have some revenue coming through.
It was something
there.
that I was thinking about last night of like, oh, should I cancel it? Like, I'm not going to go to the movies anytime soon. But then they also have things on the back end of like their terms of service of like, if you cancel, you can't re-up it for 3 months. So it's like, is it worth just like kind of waiting it out to see if this is going to, what this is going to look like in 3 months or next month? Or should
I think it is
hold out?
personally, because I think obviously we're talking as we're recording this. By the way, we're sitting on the cusp of, if it hasn't happened already, the president potentially declaring a state of emergency.
Yeah.
So I think we're starting to get into the roughest portion of this. I mean, obviously, I'm just speculating. I'm hoping this is as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
That's a fingers crossed.
If things stay the same, I feel like 2 weeks or a month from now, things are going to be a little bit more hectic.
Yeah. So my hope is that we're, the month of, what are we in, March right now?
Mm-hmm.
The month of March is the hardest month. April, we get hit a little bit, and then everyone starts coming back online mid-April to late April. But that is very conservative wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Already the economics of this are going to be echoing for the next 6 to 8 months, if not for the next 2 to 3 years.
I mean,
Well, I think
this is a big statement, but it's real. It's like, so 9/11 happened and it changed the world and it changed the economy and it changed every single industry in some way or another, right? Disneyland closed one day because of 9/11. Disneyland is closing 2 weeks. Disney World is closing. Like this
Disney
this
Paris.
weekend is going to be the
Yeah.
first time since the 60s that a Disney park in the world's not open. And it's like, that is just an example of like, damn, if it got to that level, there's so much money just with Disneyland. See how much that trickles out though, right? To like every other aspect of the world's economy, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, 9/11 was an event that happened. When's this event end? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like every day there's new ramifications to this.
And the hope from a more positive standpoint is that people look at this and go, oh wow, we're not prepared for something of this scale, a pandemic of this scale, to hit the United States. Our healthcare industry we need to take a hard look at that. We need to take a hard look at basically just how we are responding to this right now, and hopefully learning, because this, by the way, is not the last time a massive virus like this is going to affect the world. Like we've seen.
But it is the first time it's happened.
Very
in
first time in
like,
my lifetime.
Yeah,
I've ever
modern
seen anything
modern
happen
times.
in the United
Yeah.
States. Of course, we had SARS, we had MERS. Those
But those
were
weren't-
more localized as far as in different regions. But yeah, this is going to change the world for going forward for sure.
Looking at Black Widow, you have to imagine that Disney is being very choice about their decisions about that movie right now, with that movie being in May, which is further out than most of these. Fast and Furious just kind of got ahead of it and ran with it by just punting it a year and getting that date next year. But with Black Widow, the final trailer came out, and we've learned Disney does it where the trailer comes out with ticket sales. Ticket sales weren't there. And I think that was definitely on purpose of them kind of like trying to wait and see.
See how it is, yeah.
Because as of right now, it's still sticking to that May release date. Like, Disney announced all these production delays and the release date delays, but they didn't mention Black Widow, and that's definitely you got to imagine on purpose, right? Like they do not want the MCU plans to change, and it's interesting to keep an eye on this and see like what ends up happening there. On the other side, we have DC, Wonder Woman. Like just today, they put out a new poster, and the poster still has the June date on it. So it's like,
but it's also possible like there is. And granted, I think it's a very, very small and huge risk, but a small window of an opportunity where if you do the timing right, if this does subside and people go, okay, by June everyone's feeling like, let's get back to work, let's get outside, let's go back to the movies, you could fucking dominate if you were the only movie in theaters. But that's a huge risk.
Yeah, but I don't
necessarily
necessarily feel like that's how like people's minds work. I feel like that's the kind of thing that like it's gonna be like small steps where it's like, okay, I guess I have to go back to work now. And that doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out in a like room with, 200 other people, like because like there's still that risk involved.
For sure. And I'm not saying that you absolutely should. I don't think that timing is gonna work out.
Yeah.
And if I were an executive sitting at Warner Brothers, I'd be like, we need to take a hard look at our slate and really, really push those to a window that we feel is gonna be good. But like we said before, if you could be the only game in town, that'd be amazing. But if not, if you're punching to next year, you're going to have steep competition to go up against, even more so than any other year we've ever seen. I mean, think of all the movies that are being postponed. But I don't know. I feel so bad for everyone who has been production on these movies or was looking forward to them coming out. It's just really, really, myself included. Like, not that I was worked on them, but I'm looking forward to Wonder Woman 1984. I wanted Fast and Furious. I'm a huge James Bond fan, and the fact that I have to now wait 8 months to go and see this and potentially have it be threatening to the series. Because if this next James Bond doesn't do that well, how many more do they have in the can? Whereas like with Mission Impossible, you're like, it's going to be dope. We all know it's going to be dope. I'll wait for that. But with Bond, I always feel like Bond's on such thin ice when it comes to like how, you know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Cultural relevancy.
Like Spectre didn't do that well. It's not that culturally relevant anymore. Skyfall did well, but Quantum didn't do that well. So they're always like hit, miss, hit, miss, hit, miss. That I'm like, and Daniel Craig doesn't want to do it anymore. I don't know. I just feel like this could be bad for the series.
I mean,
sure.
That's the thing is like even for like the huge guys. Like imagine if like, Black Widow were to make 600 million, right? Like that. And I guess Black Widow is probably on a smaller.
I'm sure
scale,
it's a smaller budget.
But imagine it makes 350 million.
That'd be bad.
Like that would be horrible for them. And it's like that would definitely change so much. And that's the interesting thing that a lot of people have been talking about is like, okay, so at what point do we just put these movies on streaming services? Like, oh, we have Disney Plus, we have Hulu, whatever. It's like, I don't think that's a solution, especially not for these big movies.
I think it's a solution if you have, not for the big movies. The big movies, you have to have that theatrical window. For the smaller movies, that's where I start thinking, like, if I were the producers of A Quiet Place 2, which I have to imagine had a budget of 30 to 50 million, something like that, right? But, like, could I look at that and go, let's hedge our bets, let's cut our losses, and let's put it out on streaming and hopefully make our money back to a degree. Maybe not a profit, but at least break even with the marketing that's already gone into that. Because like Kevin pointed out earlier, marketing dollars are a huge amount of these movies' budgets. Now, obviously, when you're dealing with Black Widow and you're dealing with a movie that has a $200 million production budget, I'm speculating on that. I don't know if that's how much it costs. You gotta assume 50, 60 million of that's going toward, or extra on top of that.
It's on top. Like
toward marketing. Right?
In review, when I read the budgets, that's production budget. Yeah. Like the marketing budget is more than that.
So like imagine if, and that's why whenever we say, oh, a movie has to make 3 times what it was production budget, that's to be, people go, no, that's crazy. No, that's true because they put hundreds of millions of dollars sometimes behind marketing for this shit.
Sorry, I spaced out for a second, but I think it's usually double or
What the production budget,
sorry,
right?
not double, but the same as the production budget. Yeah,
fair. I don't know.
That's
I don't know
why
what
they
do.
say 3 times.
Right. So like, but for A Quiet Place, right? How much money are they really putting behind marketing that? They have to be very strategic when they market these movies. It's got known stars. The first one did well, but it is a sequel to a movie that like I don't know how many people are necessarily going to want to see in theaters.
A lot. I mean, so John Krasinski, the director, he put out a statement. He's like, hey, we're delaying this because the first movie relied so much on the theater experience and around being with people. And it's just like, we're not putting this movie out until that can happen for the second one because like the success of the movie rides on the experience portion of this. And like that's super interesting where it's just like that movie, another example, no new release date. It's just delayed.
Oh, take a movie like we were talking last week of like the smaller movies, right? Like The Lodge, which I think you saw, right?
I think Greg saw it.
Miller
Greg
saw
saw
it,
it.
yeah.
That's a perfect example of a movie where like I wouldn't be surprised if the budget for that was like sub 10 million.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a huge star in it, and that's one of those where it's like, what if? I'm assuming someone's like, what if we just put this out on streaming services right now for $15?
So that's the question, though. Is like, what does that business model look like? Because there's different types of streaming services, right? You sell to the Hulu or Disney Plus or Netflix, and you get the money that way, or you just put it out for day and date or whatever, renting and buying from Amazon and iTunes and all that. And that's the way that these situations would have to happen.
Have to, yeah. You can't do rental. You'd have to put it out, in my opinion. You'd have to put it out day and date when it was supposed to come out in theaters for at least $15. And it has to do that annoying thing where I'm like, I would totally watch this for $5, but it's only for buy. But I wonder if there's a new option where it's like, instead of buy or rent, it is just like, hey, a happy middle ground of you get to just watch this now day and date. Because you know there's some that are like $7.99, $8.99 that are day and date with theaters. So they already have been playing with that for the last 5-6 years,
and it's not
just
working.
Nope.
Like that's the thing is it's like that.
Well, I don't know if it's working because you have to look at it globally, right? Like for every big Fast and Furious franchise, that franchise carries all those smaller ones, and those don't have the same economics of it, right? So there are a lot of these movies, like any John Travolta movie that's come out in the last 7 years, that's like, oh, I'm John Travolta, I'm working on a fucking high power line, you know, and you're like, nobody wants to watch that, but no one's going to theaters for that. But there are some hardcore John Travolta fans that are like, maybe I'll watch this for $7 right now because it's me and my wife, and it's cheaper than a movie ticket.
I just think with where things with how the film industry is right now, there would need to be a seismic shift in the way that they are actually monetizing the products, because all that day and date stuff's cool and they're making that money, but they are still losing the money of the box office. It's not like right now it's in addition to, and it's like they need to come up with a solution to like fix that problem, because even the smallest movies are making money at the box office. Like it's news when movies like really fuck up.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you'd see a lot of these small movies have that, a much more limited run as far as how many screens they're on, but also how long they're in theaters for.
Yeah,
a movie like The Lodge will probably only be in theaters for a couple weeks before it gets phased out. You have to go to like the budget Embarcadero Theater or whatever.
Even Emma, I couldn't find at Metreon last week.
And they do that obviously because they sit and they do a cost benefit analysis and go, okay, other movies that we've released or people have released like this, they've done it for a window of on this many screens for this long, and they make out this much money, and we looking at it, they have to guesstimate a little bit, and then once it's done, boom, they pull it, and then you can buy it for 2 or 3 weeks and then rent it.
Well,
and
that's
those
the thing
traditional
is, like,
windows.
Like with the big movies, like I feel like Disney really at this point has this shit on lock, where it's like, cool, we put out the big superhero movie, we make $1 billion at the box office, then 3 or 4 months later, we put it on home video. It's like the turnaround is much quicker than it ever used to be.
Yeah.
They get the sales, they get the rentals, and then 3 to 4 months after that, put it on Disney Plus. It's like it really is this
The big question I
trickle
have
down.
is, what happens if theaters start going down?
And that's the thing.
And Disney looks at it and goes, there's a lot of empty buildings right now with
Yeah.
all the infrastructure of theaters. Does Disney start a theater chain?
That would
Do
be
they start
really
doing?
cool,
Is
especially with
Disney
how many.
not already attached to AMC in some?
I don't think.
I don't
so.
think they're allowed to
I
be.
don't-
At this point, it's like an antitrust thing.
Yeah,
Maybe
but it
I'm
was
just
If
thinking
you
of
own
the-
literally every part of the the production,
production, yeah.
distribution,
Yeah.
and all that stuff, that might ring some bells in.
there
in
were
Washington, but
some laws that like ended last year that like prevented distributors from being like, hey, if you want to distribute Endgame, you also have to take these other movies for a certain amount of time.
Disney famously, I think, was being really hardcore with Star Wars, and that peaked really. That was like a news story a couple years ago where they
Force
were like,
Awakens.
you have to do this on this many screens, and everyone's like, should you really be dictating that? Like, that's kind of a fucked up thing to do for theater chains, because you're basically saying like, I want you to run your business like this, and I think that the theater chain should push back on that. But I just feel like it's almost like Amazon. You know how Amazon has like storefronts now where you can go in and get Amazon books and
Yeah.
goods. I wonder if someone at Disney's like, maybe we should buy some screens around the United States or around the world so we can completely control all of that, because they're releasing a decent amount of product to be able to do that. But
Totally.
I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting stuff. So, like, doubling down on the conversation of, like, can theaters survive this? Like, a couple other stuff. Like, we've been talking about all the different things that are being affected here. But sports are essentially canceled at this point. MLB, NBA, NHL, all the games are either canceled, postponed. Some of them are doing the
I totally
no live
get, by the way,
audience
from a
thing.
production standpoint of like when people say why would they cancel that? Why not just bring the audience in? Well, you also have to understand there's so much staff that goes into staffing these things
Yeah.
that even if you were to pare it down to just the two teams coming together in an arena, you still have to have the supporting staff of the arena. You still have to have people that are there. You still have to have all the front and back of the office, all these people.
The
so
players,
camera on
Yeah.
players,
at this
you
point,
know.
Was
NBA
it
players are
Dave Price?
have it.
One of the players was like, I have kids to think about. Like, I'm not going to risk exposing my family because of my job. Like, it's more than just the entertainment kind of value of it.
As of this morning, Netflix is mandatory work from home because somebody at the Netflix building got it. And same thing with Nintendo. It's someone got it. It's just like, so it's like starting to affect all these things that are surrounding all these different products, right? All these different like ways that things work and ways that money is made, the revenue streams of everything. So it's like no sports means what happens to ESPN, which Disney owns.
Yeah.
So you really got to start thinking about this as like in a global way of like all of this money needs to come from somewhere for these companies to be able to survive. The question is, if we're all in this together and it's just there is an understanding of like, yo, 2020 is going to suck and there's going to be a lot of issues, does that kind of what leeways and what systems are put in place to protect things like theaters? Because right now, AMC Metreon, downtown San Francisco, giant space. If nobody's going to go watch movies there, which we're seeing evidence of already with Onward and Bloodshot,
Right.
then at what point do they not have the money to pay the rent?
Probably very quickly. And I don't know if they have insurances that allow them to do this, because I don't know if this is classified under an act of God. Like, but I can't imagine they can last a certain like longer than 6 months without having revenue come in.
and that's just one theater.
It
out
would
of-
be
one.
the thing is if it was just San Francisco, right? If it was just hey,
Then
there's an
it's-
outbreak of something in San Francisco, I'd be like they can weather the storm because AMC is so big. You have to remember the economics of it. Like if it's not San Francisco, there's like they've got probably 3,000 or 4,000 screens across the world that can then come into this. Similar to how like okay, you can't get to the Apple store in downtown San Francisco. Doesn't matter because there's Apple stores everywhere. The money that's coming into those stores will go to then take care of the stores that aren't there. And also, most places in San Francisco don't make any fucking money anyway. They're just vanity stores anyway because the rent's so damn high to begin with. But this is worldwide. The problem is the real question is like if they do start bailing, what institutes start getting bailed out by the government versus what doesn't? I don't think theater chains are going to be top on their list.
No.
I think
But
more about the financial institutes and things like that are going to be the ones protected because those are the core foundation of our economy.
I do think that something like this affecting movie theaters in the way it is, I think that when the world returns to normality, we're going to see better deals on subscription services on like AMC stuff where it's like I could see them rolling out like a $10 plan where it's like, hey, go to the movies,
once a week.
once a week for $10. Or maybe even being more aggressive to try to really get people to jump on that train.
I think if you want to get people to come back on the train, you got to do one thing only: come see a movie for free. See 2-3 movies for free. Get butts back
That's
in the
actually-
seat. Get people coming
yeah.
back in because let's be honest, the way they make their money is concessions anyway. Get them in seats. Start playing crazy movies for free. Big Trouble in Little China's free at the Alamo Draft House for fucking 10 weeks or whatever, so people can come buy beers and get back into it.
Yeah.
But we're just not there yet. We're
Yeah.
not going to be there
Totally.
for
for
couple
a
of
little
months.
while.
Yeah.
When Century 20, the movie theater in Daly City, opened up, I remember the
Black Hawk
first...
Down.
Huh?
We watched Black Hawk Down.
Did we?
Siren
I
Down,
thought we watched
right.
ET.
Free. It's free movies, and we got to watch Black Hawk Down.
Well, I remember going to the arcade the whole time. So it was free movies, but it was a canned food drive. So you came in with a can of something, you can go in. Like, that would be an interesting move for them to do something like
just
that.
get people in.
Get
Yeah.
people in and also, like, seem like a charitable move to be like, oh, we're going to donate all these monies to, or all these foods to...
Food banks that are
Food banks.
probably severely depleted.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sad thing is though, like traditionally speaking, whenever there's down cycles like this, usually people turn to entertainment.
Yeah.
And you can't do that now, and so that's the. I mean,
Well,
still
again,
have,
you
still have
still-
video games,
you
we
can
still have
s-
streaming stuff like
Yeah,
that.
you can still do that at home. And again, I think that like we're gonna see boosts in like Netflix and Amazon Prime numbers
I mean,
for the next couple-
absolutely.
yeah.
Inevitably,
Yeah,
we're going to, right? Like, if you've got 2 or 3 kids sitting
Time
at
at
home,
home, yeah.
if there's 4 people sitting at home, you're gonna have to be like,
Suddenly
turn
people-
on Disney Plus. We're watching all the Princess and the Frogs again, or whatever the fuck, you know. We're gonna go deep down the lineup of like old school animation, just to shut these stupid kids up. You shut them up.
So all that stuff's gonna happen, but it's like at some point, like there's going to be that hit. If there's just no new content coming through, and we're like, and that's with video games. That's with everything. It's like right now there are
There's
games
so much
coming
old
out.
content.
No, exactly.
You know?
There is so much old
Yeah.
content.
No, but
there's-
after 6,
and
7 months of nothing being produced, you're absolutely right. There won't be anything new.
But I do
And we'll
think
have
that
so long until
we
new
have,
stuff is
Gonna hit the
ready to
market.
come
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
we have so much old content that is so bingeable. Like, and like this actually might be good for what is it, the Peacock,
Yeah.
For
where they
NBCs.
have Friends, like 7 or 10 seasons of Friends that like are 22 episode seasons.
When they
30
get The
minutes
Office.
each. Yeah. When they get The Office, like this is a lot of content that people can sit there and just have on in the background. And it's gonna. I think this is gonna motivate people to be like, well, I wasn't planning on getting Peacock, but I've been on Netflix for way too long the last month. Maybe now I'm gonna check out Peacock and see what's going on there.
I just
Yeah.
feel like it's not going to stem the bloodletting for those networks that need the ad revenue of new shows coming out. Right,
Sure.
that's going to be the big problem.
I mean,
think
I
I think the only
at what point is the Bachelorette canceled? You know what I mean?
Production of the new season.
Yeah, it's like that's
I
the
think
thing
it's
is like
imminent.
and then it's like it's all these like little.
that's
things.
the one that's going to be the final nail in the coffin for Tim.
Yeah,
Fuck
no.
this virus.
No, but real. I mean, that
wasn't Fast and Furious.
was definitely that's
Fair, that's a good point.
But no, it's like these are things where it's like that ABC's. The Bachelor is one of ABC's backbones, and that ABC, Disney, like it's like
Right. And it's
all of a
also-
How do
sudden,
you fill
all of a
that
sudden
time
Disney
and
is
what do you
losing.
do?
The new Disney Plus shows that are coming out this fall probably aren't going to. Their movies this year aren't happening. Disneyland is closed. The Bachelor might go away. I don't want to live in this world. What the fuck? But also, real talk, like how long can Disney last with that? Sure, they have a fuck ton of money, but it's like,
You see George Lucas just sitting there going like, how do I buy Star Wars back?
oh my god.
How do I get it back? He's just like, yes, I have $20 billion. I can buy it back. Do another
Oh,
Phantom
man.
Menace part 2.
It's interesting to think too about like on a different level, like do they do an Academy Awards this year, and like how does all of that stuff
That's
kind of work?
super interesting too. Before we talk about that though, think about it. I want to tell you about our sponsors. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Indochino. Making a suit makes me feel good. Does it make you feel good, Kevin?
Oh yeah.
Makes you feel fancy. Makes you feel like James Bond, and nobody wants to be James Bond more than Nick Scarpino. And he loves wearing his Indochino suits. Here's the deal.
Gray suit. It was cool.
It was. I got my nice blue one, and it's like a hot blue. It's like a hot teal.
Yeah.
Which is very me. You can get a little monogram on the inside. You
Say
can
whatever you want.
Say whatever you want, which is fun. You get to choose from hundreds of high quality suit fabrics to pick the color, pattern, and weight you like best. This is one of those situations I'm always talking about. People don't think about the weight. Fashion, function, sometimes they can come together. You don't need to be overly hot. You don't need to be weighed down. But sometimes you want to keep it's chilly outside, but you still want to look damn good. Right now, you can get an extra $30 off any purchase of $3.99 or more at Indochino.com when entering code MORNING at checkout. That's $30 off any purchase of $3.99 or more at Indochino.com when entering code MORNING at checkout. They also have shirts. They also have chinos. They got a whole bunch of different options for your wardrobe. Check them out. Indochino.com. Enter code MORNING at checkout. Next up, shout out to Manscaped. Oh, man, we've all been there, nicking our nuts. Next thing we know, there's blood everywhere, and it's a scary scene, and it hurts, and then it stings for like a week.
Oh my god.
No
it
more of
stings
that.
so bad.
Let's stop that, Kevin. Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0. No more cuts and nicks with Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0. This is their third generation trimmer featuring advanced skin-safe technology so you can keep your bad boys nice and smooth. One of the coolest features is the LED light, which illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise trimming. And Kevin, let's not forget about that charging stand. You can show your mower off loud and proud because this thing is beautiful. It actually is really nice looking. It's that nice silver look where I'm just like, I'm proud that I own this Lawnmower 3.0.
I think it might be the fanciest looking thing in my bathroom.
There we go. Man, it's always so tempting to talk about your balls with this. I'm just going to let that one slide, though. So many people have written in stories about how Lawnmower 3.0 like made their balls look better, and I appreciate you. Keep those stories coming. I want to hear all about it. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code MORNING at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code MORNING at manscaped.com. Finally, shout out to Upstart. As most of us have found out the hard way, getting into debt is easy. Getting out, quite hard, especially if your credit score isn't great. Thankfully, now there's Upstart.com, the revolutionary lending platform that knows that you are more than just your credit score. They offer smarter interest rates to help you pay off high-interest credit card debt. Upstart goes beyond the traditional credit score when assessing your credit worthiness. They actually reward you based on your education and job history in the form of a smarter rate. This helped out one of my best friends recently who was going through some issues, and they consolidated all of his debt into one thing. He's been paying it off monthly, and it made so much more sense, made it so much more easy for him. They made it fast, simple, and easy to check his rate since it's just a soft pull. Won't affect your credit. The best part is once the loan's approved and accepted, most people get their funds the very next business day. You can free yourself from the burden of high-interest credit card debt by consolidating everything into one monthly payment with Upstart. You can see why Upstart's ranked #1 in their category with over 300 businesses on Trustpilot. And hurry to upstart.com/morning to find out how low your Upstart rate is. Checking your rate only takes a few minutes. That's upstart.com/morning. Nick, what's going on out there?
Oh my God. You take a wild guess. Take a wild guess what's happening.
There's the fire
Cars.
truck.
No, someone got in a stupid accident on that same fucking
No
street.
way.
Yeah, of course.
Oh.
There's 2 cars. Someone's taking a police report, and there's like two cops and an ambulance that are out there. I don't think anyone's being loaded. I don't think anyone's being loaded in. I think
Barrett,
everyone's
take a
probably
picture.
fine. But
Oh my God.
yeah, it's that damn street. It's like the most
stupid asshole
dangerous
thing.
one-way street ever.
Oh,
It should be
this
only,
one?
Yeah, the one right,
Yeah,
right
the
there.
little corner, this little T string.
No, like there. It looks
Barry's
like
taking
they,
a picture, and then maybe he'll slack it to us so we can
wow.
see.
Yeah, it looks like somebody
Or
like
put it up on
rear-ended someone
the
or something
screen.
like that. I don't know, but
Got it.
Yeah,
that
slack
street
it
is
to
just
control, and then you
dangerous.
can bring it up.
Anyways, Joey, you're bringing up
Yes.
something very fascinating.
Yes.
The Academy Awards.
Emmys, the Tonys. Now that
Bad-
Broadway shut down.
Bad Boys
like,
for Life. Picture of the year. I saw someone tweeting that.
It would be The Gentleman. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, the gentleman was fantastic.
You didn't see Bad Boys for Life, Joey.
Joey, you don't know.
I
Bad
did.
Boys.
I
You
can
understand?
confirm, Joey. The gentleman is way better.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of deal with it. Like, not that that's the end
I mean,
of the world.
the
but-
Oscars are still going to happen, right? Like that's
Oh,
still.
look at
Well, that's in
that.
January. And you know, the problem is that like the thing with the Oscars as well is that you have to remember a lot of the movies that are quote unquote Oscar nominated are not necessarily the ones that have gigantic theatrical releases. So they could still put those out on streaming services potentially, but they do have to have by Oscar law, they have to be in theaters for a specific amount of
By
time. So
Oscar law.
by
Yeah.
Oscar law. So you have to
Oscar
imagine that
himself.
like any movie that's going to do that has to hit theaters for at least a week, I want to say, in a specific
I think
amount
it's
of streams.
2 weeks.
Is it 2 weeks?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but access to those movies will be easy because they'll be on streaming anyway, just like the Irishman was, or any of the Netflix
But
movies.
does
or-
this finally change the ruling that movies won't have to be in theaters?
No.
I don't know.
Or
don't
will they make
think
like
so,
a
though.
temporary?
I don't think so, though, because
thing?
like the Academy is so intrinsically tied to theater chains that I just don't know if they'll do that. Like it's kind of a
Would they
one-off.
just
Also,
not have one
a
for
lot
this
of
year?
times. What?
Would they just not have an Academy Award? If this
No,
is like
I think
worst
that,
case
I
scenario.
think that they would. I think that we're just gonna like see a bunch of Oscar like oriented movies coming out at the end of the year.
Yeah, you're gonna see a shitload
Yeah.
of them come out in December,
Right.
for sure. Just like you always do, right? It's
I'd
like
say I'd say
everyone
more
tries to.
like November, October.
October.
Yeah, window.
Q4.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't think we're quite there yet. I would doubt. I would guess that the people who are doing the Academy Awards, because they have to plan it all year, I'm sure they're still thinking, hey, we're going to execute in February for next year, because I have to imagine by then we'll have a good understanding of like the do's and don'ts of how this virus is going to affect everything. I mean, that's legitimately a year from now. So hopefully, let's put it this way: if we're still in a state of emergency a year from now, that's not going to be good. That's like pandemonium at that point. But
Yeah.
I doubt we'll get to that.
Yeah, I just wonder what
hopefully at that point
the
they'll have a
casualties
vaccine.
along the way are going to be.
Year and a half, they're saying.
know? Like at some point, it's
Speed
like
that shit up.
if the small theaters are killed
Yeah,
by
they're-
this, like
I've-
sure AMC might be able to push, but like the small ones, isn't it like all but assured they're gone?
I
right?
feel like for San Francisco, right? We have a lot of local small theater chains. They already have a hard time struggling to get business, mostly because of the complete and total asshole landowners that just want to jack up rates like left and right just because they think they can. Hey, have fun having empty theaters.
Always hitting on landowners.
Because they're just greedy as fuck, man. And like literally, the Clay just went out, or the Vogue, no, the Clay, the one that's on Fillmore Street, gone. Yeah, and it's sad. Like,
Is that
obviously,
one of those little shitty theaters that has bad sound?
super shitty, bad sound,
and like
terrible
overly
seats.
cold.
And the
I feel
popcorn
like
is
that's one
always
that we went
super
to
stale.
see, like
But-
Back to the Future with.
Yeah, they
like,
used to do
Andy and
midnight showings
Greg.
of like Rocky Horror Picture Show and stuff. They always the room was like constantly playing at midnight there. Granted, these are not necessarily the highest demand theaters experiences, but like I like being able to like part of the fun of being in a city is that you can get to a theater in like 5 minutes. I can walk to theaters if I want to and see movies that are out in other major motion pictures that just came out. I can see in my neighborhood theaters, but I know for sure the margins of those theaters are very, very low. Those are going to be the first to go for sure. AMC, the Regals, the Edward Cinemas, the bigger theater chains, they'll hold on for a while, but it's going to start getting dire in there.
Yeah, that's my thing is how long can they? I know that they will, and I know that there's the infrastructure, but like you were saying earlier, it's like it's not just San Francisco, it's everywhere. And at some point, that's going to affect San Francisco most because where the AMCs are is fucking expensive
Oh, yeah.
areas.
That
man. We're talking
land-
Japantown, we're talking downtown.
The
like,
Metreon, that square, that block of the Metreon where the Moscone Center is probably some
The
of the
most expensive in SF. It
real
has
estate
to
to
be.
rent as a commercial property.
when people
in
think
America.
downtown SF,
They
that
think of
is
the
what they
Metreon.
think about, right?
Yeah.
It's that in Union Square.
And the
Like,
Westfield Mall. I mean, that's another question, right? Thinking a little bit bigger, like what happens to the Westfield Mall? Are people going shopping right now? I'm not going to a Nordstrom right now to try to get shoes. It's not worth it. God damn, if I had stock, I wish I
again,
had stock in Amazon.
I feel like online shopping is still totally a viable thing. And
It is until you realize that the
Who's gonna do fulfillment?
Who the hell's gonna? Yeah, no one's going to work, and the supply chains are
Get
starting to
them
break down.
hazmat suits. You know what I mean?
Well, even the trucks, things like that, right? Like
Yeah.
I keep thinking to myself, oh, I'll just order Postmates. But then it's like, what happens if Postmates if someone doesn't want to drive their car to a place and then come interact with 15, 16 different people that day?
Yeah.
It's crazy shit. But
They announced too that they have like different delivery options now where they will just drop it off on your front door and you don't have
that's
to talk to anybody.
smart. I mean, to be fair,
But, like, they
I'm
still
not
have to interact
terribly
with
worried about like taking
restaurant
a bag out
people.
of someone's hand, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
going back and forth on some other things, something I want to bring up was the New Mutants, which at this point,
I can't
this poor
believe
cast in this movie
Just
has
take it
been.
out
They're just
back.
like, for
Put it
Christ's
out of
sake.
Well, I
Misery.
think that the whole reason that it's still going to theatrical release is because under contract with those cast members, it was supposed to do a theatrical
Sure.
release.
Sure.
So that may be the reason why we didn't get it streaming services.
Just
no, that
put
is
it-
the reason
Yeah.
why we didn't get it for streaming
Sad,
services.
dude.
Cameron Kennedy had an amazing tweet. He says, the year is 3020. The average human's 8 feet tall now. We can talk to dogs. Flying cars have been long a thing of the past. We travel through tubes now. New Mutants has just been delayed once again to July 3rd, 3021. So, history here of New Mutants. It was originally supposed to come out. It was announced on May 2nd, 2017, that April 13th, 2018, it was going to come out. Then it was going to come out January 11th, 2018. Got pushed to February 22nd, 2019 to avoid Deadpool 2. Then March 27th, 2018, it got delayed to August 2nd, 2019 to avoid Dark Phoenix. Then May 7th, 2019, it got pushed to April 3rd, 2020 because of the Disney merger and trying to work through all that. And now March 12th, 2020, it got delayed to God knows when due to the coronavirus. One thing that did come out about this that is semi-positive is the director reaffirmed this week that the reshoots never happened. None of that was real. All the bad, like, doom and gloom shit was hearsay. And that he was like, this is my vision. This is the thing we've been working on. There's just a lot of shit that just keeps this movie from coming out. But and again, it's the fucking director. It's the guy that did it. But he's like, this movie's good. And it is what it was going to be.
This movie, and to be fair,
It's
when you
got
watch
great
the preview,
actors.
it has the potential for being
Yeah.
a really cool, unique superhero movie. I want to see it.
Yeah.
Just fucking put it out on streaming services already. I'll watch it this weekend, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. Like, I don't think that's going to happen.
I know. But it should.
Yeah. And I do wonder, though, if because of this at some point, this does seem like the type of thing that could get some type of, like, okay, well, there was the law there, but we're going to
Yeah, go
Tweak it
around
a
that.
amend that or tweak it. I don't know how that works because I think that it's
think
not.
they have to pay
it's
out
not
people,
Disney or
though.
Fox. I think that is some weird like monopoly government shit of like because of
Maybe.
the merger they
Yeah.
had to like keep
Some
these things
percentage
happening.
base of X amount
mean-
of movies have to see a theatrical release.
Yeah.
The thing too is you're talking about a smaller budget film, and the execs must be like, God damn it, this fucking movie, is it really worth all this trouble? Is it really worth remarketing it over?
I mean,
and
here's the
over
thing:
again?
it's smaller budget, but it's not.
Was it 50?
A small
What was it
budget
at?
film. Let me look.
You have to wonder if they would have just like sucked it up and released it the first time.
I think they
All
should've.
of these rehash marketing dollars, if that's really
It's not
going
worth
to.
it. At this point, they've lost money. They're not going to recoup their expenses, their money on this movie. There's just no way, unless it's a mega hit, and it won't be, because it's not going to get a huge push.
Unless it's like one of those like kind of cabin in the woodsy
box
things where they
office
held on to
mojo
it
now?
for so long until
Chris Hemsworth
was
became
relevant.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is super possible, but I think if that were going to happen, they should have put this out during the Game of Thrones when what's her name, Maisie
Williams.
Williams
Maisie
was
Williams
actually
was
relevant.
huge.
Not saying she's not relevant anymore, but she's obviously not as high profile as she used to be because her show's not on TV anymore.
Yeah.
So
Some other fun news in the
Is it
Fast
fun?
and Furious. Well, this is fun. This
Okay.
is fun.
can we end the show with just going through Vin Diesel's Instagram account?
This morning, man.
This morning was weird.
What did he
It
do?
was.
He
Was he
posted
just
a picture
drinking?
of him and Paul Walker, and it was just like,
Paul would have fixed this. What the fuck? The fuck would Paul would have done? The fuck is Paul Walker gonna do?
Jeez.
no, it was just like Paul said he would only come back to the Fast franchise if I was producing it, and so he did. It's like,
It's weird.
cool, man. Like, cool.
Thanks, Vin.
With like a real shitty Photoshop.
How many fucking dabs do you think Vin's doing on a daily basis?
I don't know.
All of
but,
them.
So you missed this because on Internet Explorers on Monday, Vin Diesel doing the Bloodshot tour. A lot of people obviously asking him about movies they actually care about, like Fast and Furious instead of Bloodshot. And Vin Diesel going off. He's like, "Look, man, the world needs entertainment now more than ever. I can assure you that Fast 9 will hit theaters in its original release date." And then like
Can
3
you
days
imagine-
later,
Can you
No.
imagine being the exec that's like, Vin,
Vin.
I know what you said, and I know you meant it.
They
But-
need-
But-
That's
they
just
need
not
to
how it
sit-
works.
Like, look at Onward. It's only made 40 million. Like,
they need
it's
to-
not.
Somebody sat Vin down. They took the bong out of his hand, and they were like, "You're gonna lose your fucking shirt on this movie if it comes out in 2 weeks." And he's like, "Huh, huh, huh." And they're like, "Just do it. Just fucking delay it." He doesn't understand what's happening. He's so high right now. He's talking to Paul Walker.
All right, so here's the
Christ.
fun news, though. While Fast 9's cast list is already quite lengthy, apparently there's another big name on the list that is yet to be revealed. During an interview with E.T. at the premiere of his new film Bloodshot, Diesel teased an F9 cameo that is so awesome. He described it as something that will be a big surprise for fans before saying, and Nick, hold on to your butt for this quote, "It's a testament to the franchise. It's a testament to all the work that everyone has done, and it's a testament to the integrity. As a thespian,
Okay. Does he know what that
as
means?
someone who started acting when I was 7 years old, it's wonderful to dance with other acclaimed thespians and try to make magic."
You think Stallone's his dad?
Here's
What do you
Stallone's
think
being
this
rumored.
means?
I think, and this is also combined with another interview he did where he was saying that there's an Academy Award winner that is going to be involved and is a cameo. I have a feeling it's going.
Isn't
to
Helen Mirren Academy Award winner? Isn't she?
Well, yeah, but that's not a cameo. She's out.
He
there
said
at this
another.
point.
Yeah.
But I
I
think it's going to
apologize.
be Helen Mirren's husband, Papa Shaw, and I think it's going to be. I always blank on his fucking name.
James
Michael
Cromwell.
Caine.
Michael.
I'm
Caine.
Michael.
Is
Caine.
Helen
Oh,
Mirren married to Michael Caine?
No, but in
No,
this universe,
the-
maybe.
Oh,
I
got
don't
it, got
thi-
it.
Is he?
Papa Shaw.
Is he like badass enough to be
Michael
He
Caine?
always seems like
Michael
so.
Caine?
He always seems so like nice.
If
So, okay.
Michael
I
feel
Caine
like
ends
he's-
up being the dad of the Shaw
I'm gonna-
brothers, I'm in.
I'm gonna. I don't know a ton about early Michael Caine movies, but I think your perception of Michael Caine is based solely off of him being this Alfred. But he used to be a bad
No,
motherfucker
it's
back.
badass.
not Alfred. It's something else. Let me look it up.
Michael Caine's always been sort of that sweet.
Oh, it
like,
might be based on
what?
Miss Congeniality.
Okay. So yes,
a
Michael
baby.
Caine. Michael Caine in his later
Sean
years.
Connery would be cool too.
Michael Caine in his later years has taken on
Someone
that
that
role of the
judges
more
that.
grandfatherly character.
Yeah.
But don't go. He was a badass back in the late 70s. He was what was that movie? Was movie? He did Get Carter. He did Get Carter. That was him.
He did
they've
the
done-
original
Do
Italian job,
you
right?
yes.
Yeah.
So
do you think we see Keanu Reeves?
I think it's inevitable at this point that Keanu ends up in Fast and Furious. I just don't know when it's going to be.
I
Yeah.
really hope it's a John Wick cameo. Like he is just John Wick
He
in
is
this
John
world.
Oh my
Wick.
Yeah.
gosh, can you imagine?
That would be so cool.
to be fair, it would totally fit in the world.
Yeah.
I would love it, man.
Or the other thing that popped in my head when I read this is Joaquin Phoenix.
I hate that.
I don't-
but
yeah, I don't
feel
think
like
that
I
that
don't
could
like
fit.
that, but
I
I
don't
could
think-
see. I don't know why.
I don't think Vin Diesel and Joaquin Phoenix would have gotten along too well.
Yeah,
Joaquin's
I
like
don't think so
super
either.
It
method.
breaks my heart that the Rock doesn't get along with him.
Oh, The Rock just
That's
wants
really
to snap him.
upsetting.
If Keanu's in this movie, it's not a cameo. I think Keanu, or not this movie, in this franchise, I think Keanu will be a the character. And I feel like if anything, he'll be Etienne or whatever, the bad guy that they've been setting up in Hobbs and Shaw.
But would that qualify as a cameo in this movie? To setting up a long term or a more
but also Vin
established
Diesel
role?
doesn't know what words are. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
But I do. My
Let's
money's
put-
on Michael Caine
Thespian,
Diesel
related
slaps
to
you one day.
drama,
or Stallone.
related to drama and the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think of either of those two terms when you think of Vin Diesel?
Or Fast and
drama
Furious.
or the theater?
I love it, dude. Let him live his life.
Vin, you're
Let
not
him
a
live
thespian.
Look, yes, he is. Him and his
You're
lesbian friends.
barely an actor. You're about 20% actor
Oh
right now.
man.
Groot,
The
you
one
know?
thing
That
though,
takes a
Kev, that
lot of
Stallone is
chops.
actually, I think, the probably most likely outcome
Yeah.
of this is because we see in the trailer of Fast 9, we see a shot of like a car, like an older car, like flipping over, and it looks like the scene that Vin
He had
described
talked
of his
about.
dad dying in Fast 4.
Do you think
So
we
I think
get
we
the
get a
wrench?
flashback of Vin's dad.
It ends with him picking up a wrench, going to kill the dude that puts him in jail. He doesn't kill the guy; he breaks his face. I think.
If it's Stallone, that'd be amazing.
That'd
Because
be
Stallone
so
is an Academy
interesting.
Award winner.
So there
Yeah.
you go.
There
There
you
we
go.
fucking go.
That'd be
Rocky
awesome.
Balboa.
There it is.
No, well, Rocky.
Rocky.
Yeah.
Then another thing they announced that Spider-Man 3 is going to start shooting in July. We'll see. Zendaya is back. Cool.
It's not. It's not gonna start shooting.
Yeah, there's
no, it's cool. I'm
potential.
sorry, it is cool. I don't think it's gonna start shooting in July.
Yeah.
I think there's so much. There's gonna be so much production backup that it's just gonna push everything back.
Yeah.
But
God, it's insane, man.
it's
insane.
bananas. Hey,
All right.
luckily they already did the one where they go to Italy, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that one out.
Stay home.
Yeah, that would have sucked.
Spider-Man 3. Stay home.
Damn.
You got to put that tweet out right
yeah,
now.
wait, that's actually really funny.
That's a good tweet.
We asked you to submit some questions and stuff for us to talk about on patreon.com/kindafunny. Brandon H says, assuming this continues into the summer, what does this mean for the existence of the summer blockbuster?
It'll still be around.
But
It just
not
gets punted
this year.
eventually. Not this year.
Yeah,
no.
not this year. I mean,
But it's not.
Hiatus.
But that window is predicated largely on kids being out of school. That's why the summer blockbuster was always a big deal. Like people were taking time off, teachers were off, all that stuff, and so kids had nothing better to do than go to see these crazy big budget blockbuster movies. Which is why a lot of those movies try to skew PG-13 when it comes to that stuff. That's why you didn't see very big R-rated like mega movies because
Yeah.
kids couldn't get into them.
That is interesting that a lot of the R-rated superhero movies tend to be more like February or like...
Well, they've been playing around
Yeah.
with different dates on stuff, and I feel like that's what we're going to see next year, a little bit more experimenting to see what dates maybe that they weren't thinking of beforehand that they could use to launch big movies.
Yeah, man, it's interesting because I wonder at what point does 2021 not look stacked? It's just 2020.
Oh, the 2020 movies?
It was just happening.
I think they
then.
have to do that. I think there's
Yeah.
going to be
Yeah.
a lot of people that, because all these studios are the same studios that are releasing movies next year.
Yeah.
It's not like Disney's like, oh shit, we have to go up against a new studio X, whatever. They know
all
what
their
their 21.
same
Yeah,
lineup, yeah.
they're just going to take all their movies and push them back a year, and
Yeah.
it's going to suck. It'll be an unbelievable loss of money for everyone involved. But I mean, you're up against yourself when you're Disney, so why not just push it all back and continue the slate? You know.
Toodles24 says Patrick Stewart as Shaw's dad. I would love that so fucking much.
Ian McKellen would be awesome too.
Oh my God.
We had enough Ian McKellen.
You shall not pass.
Yeah,
a
there you go.
Camaro through my garage.
Sam Mosher, and we talked about this a little already, but do you think streaming will play a key role in carrying studios through these coronavirus times? For instance, Disney could push Disney Plus by touting movies like Mulan or New Mutants as streaming exclusives. This whole situation reminds me of when The Interview was pulled from theaters and was released on Netflix. Love the show. Thank you for the extra episode.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, Disney's gonna. If you're Disney and you're doing theatrical releases of movies predominantly, and you also have a streaming platform, yeah, you're going to be better off than what was Peacock, right? Where they're not necessarily don't have that user base. They're not necessarily having that traditional kind of production workflow when it comes to that stuff. My big question is like, when does HBO Max? When was that supposed to come out? Is that a thing already or no?
No, I think it's
2020 thing,
May. Yeah.
I wonder if they're thinking like, hey, how do we get this thing pushed forward? How do we get HBO Max like going right now?
I
Because
think that
isn't that Warner Brothers or is that yeah, it's
No.
Warner, right?
Yeah. I think that's May 2020.
May 2020.
I think that May 2020, if things remain the same and we have this, like, if the state of emergency lasts that long, I think that's the perfect time for them to launch. Because that's like, now you've given people time to really spend, like, going through Netflix and Hulu and kind
And
of
they're
just being
bored.
like,
Yeah.
And they're bored. They're watching
bored,
the same
and now they want
things.
something new. And, like, that's the perfect time to have everyone sign up for something,
Maybe,
a
yeah.
new service.
Yeah, I think obviously I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be dire straits no matter what. I don't think Disney Disney makes so much of its money from the theatrical releases, but also from the theme parks. So those two hits right there are going to be really, really bad.
I mean, here's the thing: like, there's no chance, and it doesn't make any business sense to put Mulan on Disney Plus. Like, that is not a world that will ever exist, ever happen.
That's not a smart idea.
Like, looking at this, the biggest budget movie that has been made for streaming services, Bright, $90 million budget. Right? That's a shit ton of money. That is insane. That's nowhere close to Black Widow and.
Well, my bigger question is how many of these
levels.
streaming services are available in China, where a lot of money is made with the we've seen it time and time again. If a movie doesn't perform in China, or if it's not allowed to be in China, it just tanks. And so like I don't know if Disney Plus is available widely in China, but if it's not, then putting Mulan out on Disney Plus and not having a theatrical release, it's gonna tank. There's just no fucking way.
I mean, like just
especially since it is Mulan and it is like it is based around Chinese culture and Chinese, I don't want to say mythology, but
History?
I guess it's history, yeah. Fable, whatever it is, it's geared toward China. It's a Chinese story. You got to get it out into theaters in China.
that's just where it makes, I think, for a movie like Mulan, it makes more sense to wait and hold it.
Of course. But it's as far as
And that's why
streaming
we're
services,
seeing all these movies get canceled. And
my
pushed
big
over.
question is I keep thinking about Amazon, right? And I've always thought that Amazon was that slow but like steady titan that just will one day dominate as far as like content production, because they have so much more infrastructure everywhere else in the world that is going to be needed forever. Namely, just the ability to deliver goods
Just like the
right
diversity.
to your fucking door. They're like Netflix. I always thought was going to be. I look at that and I'm like, they have their work cut out for them because they have to go up against Amazon, where their production studio is just such a small little tiny facet of their overall trillions and trillions of dollars that they're doing in transactions on a daily basis. So I just wonder, like, I would love to see what Amazon looks like 2 years from now after this. Like, is this going to be huge for them? I don't know.
Brandon H. also writes in and says, how do these movie delays impact the content schedule for Screencast and review going forward? Here's the thing. They're going to impact them. How? We're figuring it out.
Oh, we
And, like,
were scheduled to do
We have Cool Friends today?
No, but
We're going to do Quantum of Solace next week, right? That was
Well,
for
interview-
Quiet
yeah,
Place.
but Quiet Place next
2
year.
review,
Yeah.
and that's clearly
it's
not
going
happening.
to drastically change it. It's not going to stop them. Like,
Yeah,
we'll
we're
figure it
still
out.
gonna
The
have to
beauty
talk about something.
The beauty of In Review is it's like we always try to do it leading into the next big movie. But if there's no big movie coming out, there's a lot of franchises that we have been wanting to do that people want to see forever. So we'll figure that out. And, it's like...
Mighty
Finally, The
Ducks in
Conjuring.
review. No, Mighty Ducks
Really?
in
I
review.
thought you were all on board.
John
I
Carpenter
also-
in review.
I'm just
Oh,
going to
I'm
throw
also
out
down
there
for that.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
I want to do the cult classics in review. By the way, Arvel Carnite saying yes, it is not. Disney Plus is not available yet in China. They were planning that for the back half of 2020, first part of 2021. So yeah.
DJ
That's
Kanto writes in with the last question of the day. And even this isn't so much a question as much as it's just like a comment. As someone who spent a decade working in film journalism and critique, I can tell you there are a lot of jobs that are going to suffer over the coming months, even peripherally. What are journalists going to write about? Film sets are closing up shop. Studios are sending people home. So what is there to write about or cover other than the fact that studios are closed? A lot of these writers are struggling as it is. Most of them are freelancers, and there's already a tremendous lack of job security. You'll definitely be seeing a lot more coverage of TV shows and online releases. I can tell you this, if you're an indie filmmaker whose work never had a shot at hitting theaters and you're releasing digitally, expect an uptick in views, rentals, and purchases. Digital content, VOD streaming platforms are all going to get talked about a lot more. People stuck at home are going to find all kinds of hidden gems. And yeah, all that's true, but there's still the reality where it's like, yeah, everyone's turning here, but it's like that well's going to dry up as well too, right?
Yeah, but there's
the
also-
difference being, and just I wanted to piggyback off of the last question, is just like we're going to continue doing stuff. Like,
Of course.
that's we're lucky that we've built our company in a way and like built the backbone of what we do being based off us talking about stuff. And it doesn't need to be talking about news. It's fun to talk about news. It's fun to talk about new releases and react to live trailers and stuff. But like we'll adapt, we'll change. We're going to continue making content for everybody for as long as humanly possible. And if it hits a point that we can't make content anymore, guess what? We're all probably dead.
Yeah, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. Yeah, and that's the thing too is like
Sound a
as
lot
far
like
as
Vince today.
as far as journalists are concerned, I think you're just gonna see a lot more
Listen to, like,
lists
we're
come
gonna
out.
keep going.
Yeah.
I think there's a never-ending. If you're out there and you're writing and you're pitching ideas for people, obviously, the desire to consume content is not necessarily going to go away from a digital standpoint. So if you're out there, get creative. Use the BuzzFeed mentality of just having tons and tons of lists of crazy shit come out there because it gets me every single time.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a somber, kind of funny screencast, but screencast nonetheless. Thank you very much for joining us this week. stay tuned for updates next week and for schedule changes and everything. But until then, I guess I won't see you at the movies.
Yeah, no.
But
don't
you'll
go to the
see
movies.
us on your couch.